Sports Tuesday edition. How's everybody out there doing? Everybody's well. Let's get our socials in order. Start off. Let's get the socials. Okay. IG is rocking. Let's get Facebook going on. We T-Wolves, we Thunder. Layoffs. Hardy. Save it. Let's get it. Okay. Facebook is good. IG is good. Let's get it going. Couple people on Twitter. Appreciate you already. And we're going to get the YouTube. That was different. YouTube is on point. The last but not the least. Let's get Twitch. Twitch is going down for the DJ crown. Welcome to SandCity Sports, my people. To the business. Oh, we already got somebody jumped into the chat. Appreciate you. Okay, Glenn. How's it going? Let Glenn know we appreciate the check-in. SandCity, you know, we trying to hold on. We trying to step up our production game. It's progress over perfection, folks. It's progress over the perfection. You understand? Let's get it going. Hey. Oh, what? SandCity Sports, folks. Tuesday. Hey. Bring it back. Okay. If one is good, twice is nice. All right? Get the energy going on. What? SandCity Sports. Your host, the Cape Cod Kid, artist formerly known as Andre King. I'm here to bring you all the sports and current events news stories that you need to know. Happy to be with you on this Tuesday. Hope you're doing all right. I'm trying to get right. Let's get it going on. Hey, SandCity Sports. Yes, Tuesday edition. What do we got? O.K.C making a little bit of a move. O.K.C pushed the lead up, going up 11. End of the third quarter, we are going to follow this to the conclusion. But beyond that, and a part of, again, we start with the, we finish with Slice of Life, and then we begin with Slice of Life. Hope everybody out there is maintaining and doing the best that you can do. Tuesday, early in the week, we're heading into Memorial Day weekend just like that. You can't believe it. I can't believe it, especially being here in Tourist Town. It's gonna get jumping, which we're kind of gearing up for that. Hopefully we have you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather, folks. So living in a tourist dependent economy, I and we are hoping for good weather, but you take what you can get and make the most of it. But that's a little bit off. It's only Tuesday, so we have to keep moving and grooving and grinding. Through another work week. We're going to look at that towards the end of the episode in terms of our slice of life. I got some encouragement and enthusiasm. The wonders. I just get a lot of gems getting a lot of gems on IG. Just they just they give you those quick bop bop, give you perspective. So Ice Cube had some insights into the grind that we'll get to, but that's how I and maybe you guys out there in television land are feeling on a Tuesday. But nonetheless, we keep it moving and improving and marching forward. So conference finals are upon us. I have Minnesota Timberwolves. Make it clear in this series, based off the fact that I have Ant-Man being about that life. Right now, it's been nip and tuck, but Minnesota has gone down a couple points. O.K.C. holding, pushed the lead up to double digits. They're up 11. And so we'll see. We'll see if they can hold on and get this game won. But, two knockdown drag out series. I have them both going 7. And it's a beautiful thing. Okay, but beyond that, we're gonna come here. Intro is done. Talk about what's going on in the West. Eastern Conference Final, kicking off tomorrow, right? I get a little bit of a he got game. My name is Sip. Yeah, from the east to west. Yeah, I rock this joint. Yeah, with the Mofanet. Roll call. Hey, Lincoln. Link. You know what I mean? I get a little he got game in my mind. So we in the West right now. We're gonna go, we're gonna talk about what's going on in the East. My New York Knicks breaking through to the Eastern Conference Finals up against a very formidable opponent in the Indiana Pacers. Got that series going 7. Go New York, go New York, go. Appreciate we got some commentary in the chat. Glad to see it's going well, Glenn. Thank you so much for tuning in terms of the YouTube. Let me know. Let me know. I'm glad your evening, or depending on what time zone you're in. Maybe it's only 7 on the West, so it's still light outside in the Western. 10:30 plus here on the Eastern. So we moving and grooving into our evening. But thank you for checking in. And that's across the board, folks. As they say, like, comment, subscribe, but more importantly, get involved. Let me know what you're feeling. Okay. This is a Mikasa Sukasa type of a deal. So jump into the chat. If you have, takes, or you want to steer the conversation one way or another, let me know. And we flow together. Like they say, it's like jazz. You like that good jazz music. Actually, I just saw a wonderful performance tonight. Of the best and brightest doing their thing. Incredible talents, but you know what I mean. Jazz, it's just, you don't even have to kind of go over it. Sometimes in jazz you don't need a pre-show meeting, or it's just once the music gets playing, everybody's quote unquote, they say, in the pocket. Everybody's in the pocket, and once we start grooving, you know what I mean, we can just see what's going down and move from there. Good question. What is my streaming setup, Glenn? I'm down with Riverside. Software I use. Shout out to Riverside. I appreciate them. But I'm always looking, right, improve my layout. Okay, we don't play a hate. We congratulate here on SandCity Sports. So this view is kind of just me talking, and then we'll do some media. We get some imagery to go along with what I'm doing. But I see, other folks, they got the ticker. We're going to try to incorporate the ticker there and just improve the graphic design of SandCity Sports. But Riverside is what allowed me to do it right now. So we're rocking with Riverside and always looking to move and groove and improve. So folks, what we will be getting into, told you a little bit about the end of the show when we do a slice of life, talking about the grind, some good takes on the grind. Club Shay Shay interview with Dave Portnoy, saw some clips of that really resonated with me. Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy talking about the grind and what it took to get to where he's at. Do I agree with Dave Portnoy on everything? No. But do I have the utmost respect for Barstool Sports and people are doing their things? Yes. You know, comes down to the Cape. You know, he's a Massachusetts guy, so he's down on the Cape, and does the pizza review down here, which is great. Um, and diehard Celtics fan at the games, giving the takes. So shout out to Barstool Sports, respect. Um, that being said, I give the credit. We're going to get into some of the things he talked about that resonated deeply with me in terms of, right? We just see the success. We just see people flossing, and you're going to be here on the Cape, going over to Nantucket, and you know what I mean, the land of the super rich, and doing your thing. And hey, I don't play. I'm happy for whether because hey, we need people. People that are super wealthy come down here, and I'm glad they patronize our businesses, and that's how the money comes into the economy. And we live and let live, all that stuff. So happy for Dave, happy for Barstool Sports. And we talk about, but he had to grind to get to where he's at. Ice Cube talking about grinding to get to where he's at, does the work that he does with the big three. Where am I going with this, folks? The game is on, so we're going to get into the Western Conference. And in this game, I'm coming out, I'm Team Ant-Man, Team Soda, they've been here last year. Now it's time for them to step up. All due respect to Oklahoma City, these young lions on the prowl. As I've said before, it's anybody's ball game to get. You know where I'm coming at. This is the end of the drought. The New York Knicks. This is the end of our drought. Took out the Boston Celtics. Yes, there was injuries, but also let's be clear, folks. I'm saying we, that's my team under the capable leadership of Tom Thibodeau, got game 1 and game 2. So don't get that twisted. The Celtics, they need to keep it together. I don't give a damn about the second apron. People got to take less money to keep it together. So that's a different conversation. There's heartbreak here in the Commonwealth. Look at, we wanted to, they, you know what I'm saying? Knicks on my team, but I was thrilled. I have all due respect for the Celtics team, how they're constructed. The duck boats last year was crazy. So the fact that that's not going to happen, it's two things in sports, winning and misery. So I am mindful and sensitive to that here in the Commonwealth, along with this nonsense that I'm hearing. It's not nonsense because, the second apron is a beast. So when you're talking about tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, things have to give. I get that. But also, people can be reasonable, right? And, I know people got to get their money and, but winning also matters. Okay, so guys, get your money, but also, as my New York Knicks have done and are going to do, you can also structure your deals so that teams can stay together, right? More so in a almost NFL type of a circumstance. Maybe that's what Adam Silver was trying to getting at with this second apron that's coming out of nowhere. Like, basketball has a salary cap. Like, we already went through this. We went through this in the doggone mid '90s with Kevin Garnett. See, doggone it. Let me get this for you on the screen. We SandCity Sports. We're off and running. I can't even really get to. I'm making my points. I hope you're following along with me. Let me know if you're not. If this guy's if I'm bouncing around too much. But SandCity Sports, we are off and running on this Tuesday. It's a work day. It's okay. You got to do the passion project, folks. You got to do what feels to cup up. You do the 9 to 5, and that's all. But then this you got to have that. So if we have to, and again, that's where the points of Ice Cube and Portnoy resonate with me. When you're grinding, you're grinding. Okay, I might miss an extra hour, and I need my sleep. I need my beauty rest. I do. But if I gotta, if the passion project means instead of an hour, I get a half hour, so be it. Okay, because I'm coming into tomorrow with that because I'm doing the thing. I got that from Jim Rome, another guy who's Jim Rome. His interview on the Dan Lebitard show, tremendous. South Beach Sections is just awesome. The long form, out of this world. But Rome talks about, to get to where he's at, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, doggone animal. So that's what it takes. Let's go to the Kevin Garnett Minnesota contract. See if we can get that. No, you didn't. Where's the doggone picture? Come on. Oh man. Now I got to get the Kevin Garnett. I got to get the cover art now. I need that one. Yep. That's partially it. That's not it. Now we got a full on production. Because when I can't find things, then all right, let's go to eBay. Can eBay just show me the image? Thank you. I'm not trying to buy it. I'm trying to make a point over here. We finally got it, so we can move this conversation. Apologies in advance for these doggone delays. Ridiculous. But let's get this conversation going on now. Okay. Okay. So no, I'm not buying this episode, this Sports Illustrated, but this is the genesis. All right, because Kevin Garnett, his contract coming, you know, straight from high school, ready for prime time, balling out, pre-salary cap. The deal that he signed with Minnesota was seen as him holding the franchise, and that's when the late great David Stern had to put his foot down and say, "We need a salary cap in this sport. It just has to happen." This is what led, unfortunately, to the lockout in '99. The battle. 99, the last time the Knicks were in the NBA Finals. I don't mind saying that. An eighth seed under the capable leadership of Jeff Van Gundy. Wasn't supposed to be there, but got there, and then came up against a rising dynasty, as in the San Antonio Spurs, with still David Robinson there and Tim Duncan, the rising young lion that he was. Uh, but yeah, shortened season because of the battle between the owners and the players. The end result of which was a salary cap. With different, you got Max, you got Super Max, and all these different things. But Kevin Garnett and his mega deal, is what prompted that. Now, however you want to slice it, majority of the major sports have salary caps. Baseball being the lone one that does not, and makes it, you need. Interesting that baseball does not have a salary cap, but baseball has Moneyball, right? Shout out to Billy Bean. Shout out to the book Moneyball. Shout out to the movie with Brad Pitt. And Jonah Hill. Well done, right? In baseball, you got teams like the San Francisco Giants, out here winning all these, World Series with a fraction of the payroll of the dreaded teams that are on the coast. The Yankees, the Dodgers, and the marquee World Series that we had last year. So baseball is interesting that they don't have a salary cap, but this whole Moneyball phenomenon, the big wigs don't always win it or haven't in the last 10, 15 years. We've had a lot of just well-run organizations go ahead and get the championships. And then this whole phenomenon around analytics and taking pitchers who have perfect games out, which is just stupid. I don't care how, what your advanced, you can just, I don't know, however the super intelligent, exact their revenge. I'm all for it. Right? Because it's stupid. Guy has a freaking perfect game going. Just leave him in the game. I don't care. The analytics, they don't factor in momentum, and they don't factor in just, all right, flesh, blood, emotion, mano y mano. Okay, in this age of AI that we're going into, fine. But there's certain things that are not factored in, and I just think it's gone crazy to a certain extent, where people, specific to baseball, the manager, it's just all just computer generated. And there needs to be some, it has to be a partnership. Coming back to basketball, Daryl Morey ahead of the curve on this. Okay, brought in Mike D'Antoni, who was receptive to it. But there's story, Daryl Morey, Sloan Analytics Conference, now all the rage. People used to laugh at him. People would laugh at Daryl Morey when he was talking about using 2K to simulate games. Okay, and now everybody, has gotten on board and acting like they were on board from the beginning. But they weren't, but that's just how things go. But my point with this is, Daryl Morey, he did butt heads with Kevin McHale. So this is fortuitous, right? Because Kevin McHale is the one that brought Kevin Garnett to Minnesota, also was able to facilitate the deal that brought Kevin Garnett to Boston, that returned prosperity to Boston. Okay. So kind of full circle of how things are connected. Hey, I'll take it. But Kevin McHale was not for the analytics. And there's stories how Daryl Morey was bringing him analytics, and Kevin McHale would take it from one hand and plop right in the trash. Okay. Then the people would have to come take it from the trash, put it in the recycle bin, because, we recycle the paper. Do the right thing. Okay. Don't do, you know what I mean? But he'd take this booklet of analytics from here and then there, done. All right. Don't need it. Basketball lifer. And so that there had to be a parting of the ways there, even though I thought Kevin McHale was you know, a solid, you know, he was a skilled executive for a number of years, and he was a skilled coach. When he came down, he coached, and he did a good job as a coach. But that, there needed to be some, he needed to be open, he was fully against it. Obviously, Daryl Morey's for it. And what I'm saying is we need a balance. Okay, we're gonna incorporate the analytics, but we also need to have some doggone common sense up in here, and allow coaches to coach. Right, another example that I use, and we're going to bring it back to Kevin Garnett, and we're going to bring it back to this idea of the salary cap in the Boston Celtics. But the Miami Heat, yeah, we're going to use some analytics, but we're also going to, we're going to use some common sense. We don't tank. We want grinders, so we're going to show up to work. One of whom might be Giannis. We'll touch a little bit on Giannis and his, the Giannis sweepstakes, but no, we don't believe. Miami Heat. People laugh at them, and they've been to 2 NBA finals since LeBron left. And where's everybody else been believing in this tanking? Which, by the way, the tanking, which I have my issues with as well. The NBA doesn't stand for tanking, and it's shown it by how these drafts have worked out. Okay, which is a whole other ball of wax, but I have no problem with that. Number of teams I did not want Cooper Flag going to. Didn't even think Dallas was in the conversation. Dallas, in terms of how they just, the whole Luka debacle, they've lost my consumer confidence. But, Jason Kidd's still there. Hopefully ownership and Nico can just learn from their disaster and handle this Cooper Flag, the gift that they've been given better than how they handled Luka's situation. And if they do that, then it's going to be it'll be successful. Okay, but the teams that I didn't want Cooper going to, the Charlotte Hornets, okay, who are doing better with Charles Lee, but have been a dumpster fire. The Washington Wizards, dumpster fire. The Utah Jazz, have no idea what Danny Ainge is doing out there, dumpster fire. The New Orleans Pelicans, just teams that just have no direction, have been losing unnecessarily for years. What's up, Glenn? Yes. Work in education, have a passion for sports, so looking for any and every opportunity to try to just, climb the ladder. No delusions of grandeur. A lot of talented people. You know what I mean? It is what it is, but love to do it. Want to contribute. Try, you know what I mean? And so, sports media, sports broadcasting, whatever the case may be, I'm all for it. Okay, so guys, we're gonna get back to the Celtics. Gone. Okay, but we got KG, the young KG, which don't, you know what I mean? And this is how the NBA began its journey to the salary cap. Now, this whole second apron place where we find ourselves is just uncharted territory. And it's causing, right? You're hearing mumblings about it, but it's kind of head to head with the Celtics, whereas, right? Because the Golden State Warriors were able to yes, I still, yes. The Golden State Warriors, make sure I spell teacher right. One of the things we don't like typos. Especially, coming from the English history background, where I'm, where my background is, teaching special education this year, but with a focus on those two subjects. The grammatical stuff, just drive me crazy. So I got to make sure the grammar, Thank goodness, you can edit on these platforms because it drives me up a wall. All right, but what am I saying, folks? And we're going to come back to the Knicks. We're going to get into basketball. We're going to talk about this nonsense in the NFL in terms of getting rid of the tush push, which is just, you know, cheesy. Dive into that. Really interesting things, surrounding Caitlin Clark. The gift that keeps on giving, and her and Angel Reese, and everybody just can't wait to just dive into that culture war for some reason. Can't help ourselves politicizing things, which is I have let's politicize it, but we don't need to be petty. When we look at things from a number of different angles, and that conversation is certainly uh, denigrated to the point of being petty and personal and unnecessary. So we'll touch on that. And it's just, we got slice of life stuff. So it's a beautiful thing. Rocking on this Tuesday. Um, but what I'm saying to you folks is, and we're gonna talk about the teams that are going on. Oklahoma City opened up a 14-point lead, close to 7 minutes. So it doesn't, Minnesota is really back up against the wall, looking like they're conceding. Folks, you know, the Golden State Warriors dynasty, right? When they were already dynastic, won the championship, then lost the championship to Cleveland that they otherwise could have won. The Draymond suspension, whatever, whatever. They won Game 7 straight up. But if Draymond doesn't get suspended, that Cleveland, probably not going to win that series. They come back again and win it in 17, and then Kevin Durant takes his talents elsewhere. Um, and then come back and get another one even after Durant leaves. But the bottom line is, those years where they were just a superpower, like already dominant, like had the death lineup without Kevin Durant, Steph, Clay, Draymond, Harrison Barnes, and Draymond, Steph, Clay, Draymond, Barnes, and Iggy, just the death lineup, unstoppable. You can call it going small, but, Draymond can obviously, go down, just versatility across the board, defensive, two, Draymond and Iggy, just defensive, Swiss Army knives. Harrison Barnes, your 3 and D, super athlete, and obviously two of the best shooters in NBA history. And then you add Kevin Durant to that mix. My point is, like, that team stayed together. Like, there was no second apron to force them to, yes, there was a luxury tax that you had, but the second, so I don't really necessarily agree with the second apron, frankly, and the impact that it's having on dynastic teams like the Celtics. I don't. And I'm not seeing how, I saw a great statistic. Like, we've had 4 different champions, like the 2020s. There hasn't been a repeat champion yet, and there's going to be a new champion this year. So why do we need the second apron? Right? Like, the second apron in and of itself does not solve the problems of tanking and load management. Those are separate issues that are faced in the game. By the way, talk a little bit about baseball. Baseball needs a challenge for the third strike. That's what baseball needs. But on that, we're getting ready for Summer League, Cape League out here in the Commonwealth, specifically in Town, which is out of this world. For all the traffic that we have to quote unquote endure, it is what it is. I'm always late, so you want to beat traffic, get up early. It's always a battle for me to you want to beat it, get ahead of things, be prepared. Okay, and I'm consistently working on that. But yeah, we have traffic in the summer, but it's also just a beautiful thing where people want to be here. All these great events that go on, people get the chance to rub elbows with different people, instead of just being out here in the boondocks. And the Cape League is just one of the attractions that's just out of this world. To be at your neighborhood baseball field and to just literally be arm's length away from the next generation of Major League Baseball stars is crazy. I don't come from the baseball tradition. If it was basketball, it'd be just on a whole, that'd be like the equivalent of these. And last week was a live period in the, again, live meaning the college coaches could be there. So that was like the unofficial beginning of the new calendar year in basketball. So the preps, the stars of tomorrow, kind of getting their shine. That's all changed with this whole NIL revolution. So the preps don't really get the, because you want to get the next 24-year-old to come to your team and try to win a national championship, which is a whole different ball of wax. But that was last weekend. Tournaments all across, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, and so the next Cooper flag is rising up right now. Okay, but Cape League is like that for baseball. um, which is just outlandish. Okay, um, and again, like just talking about the Cape and how it's great in the summer, so on and forth, folks. My point back to is that like I'm kind of offended that this second apron is causing teams that did the right thing and built themselves the right way to not stay together. Like I'm fiercely opposed to that because there's not just because the Celtics have the Celtics have put together a dynastic roster. How is that preventing like Oklahoma City has you know they're not dynastic, but they're formidable. They're built the right way. They're built to last. Like there's no reason why the second apron. No, no. I'm not seeing where was the need. Like you know, we've always had dynasties in NBA. The Lakers won 5 championships in the '80s. The Celtics won 3. The Pistons won 2. So who else was winning in the '80s? Right, that's the '80s. The '90s, obviously, the Bulls won 6. Houston won 2. So that's 8 of the 10 in the 2000s. The 2010s, the Lakers won 5. 2001, 2000, 2001, 2002. And then Kobe got 2 more. Kobe got his in 10 and 11. No, 9 and 10. 9 when Kevin Garnett was hurt. And then 10, Kendrick Perkins got hurt in the course of that series. But they had Rasheed to back him up. So I'm not putting that series on Kendrick being hurt. And Kobe didn't even have a good game 7, if we can remember. Our test actually hit some big buckets in game 7. That was just a slugfest. Could have gone either way in 2010. Could have gone either way. But we remember that Andrew Bynum was hurt in 08 when the Celtics got theirs. Then Bynum came back in 09. KG was hurt. And then in 2010, it was the real throwdown. The Lakers had their, Bynum, Gasol, and Artest. And the Celtics had, that 5. Pierce, Garnett, Ray Allen, Rondo, Perkins. So it was a flat out slugfest. Went down to the wire in game 7, and the Lakers edged them out. Again, folks. So this, and again, you go back. My point is that the lockouts that the NBA has had over the CBA and over this idea of parity and every team having hope if they're well managed, if they're well managed. I mean, it's a big if, NBA, in my view, gifting the Mavericks Cooper Flag after they squandered the Luka Doncic. I don't think the Mavericks are a well-run organization. I think they brought it upon themselves, frankly. But the I'm against the second apron is the overarching point. I'm against it. Just like as much as I'm vehemently against because I want the Celtics team to come back. I want them to be healthy. I want them to have a chance to, right? The Denver Nuggets, like their window, and they didn't eat, well, whatever. You could say that they didn't want us, so they had to get rid of Bruce Brown and yeah. Bruce, I should know his name. Is it Bruce Bowen? I get that confused. But they replaced him with Christian Braun. They didn't really have to get rid of those pieces. They could have just went in the luxury tax and kept them. And these are billionaires. Obviously, if you're a billionaire, you don't want to lose money because millions of dollars are important to anybody. But the fact of the matter is, as Mark Cuban, who ran the Mavericks exceedingly well, to the point of a championship, so those years that you quote unquote lose money, you get all that money back when you sell the team. So stop it. And because the value of the team keeps going up, there's a lot of things that you can do to make that money back. So stop it. Stop acting. You're not little sisters of the poor because, and then these guys, these, multiple, like they're already filthy rich. And just owning the team and people knowing who the heck you are is also another revenue stream. So stop it. Take the hit. I'm not, again, these are real hits. And these guys are financial, like, they know their business financially. And I'm just, a guy, no leading economist. But all I'm saying is that, you know, you live off those championships. They're almost, they're like a hit record. The royalties of those championships just keep paying dividends into the future. We know that in the Commonwealth, folks still proudly walk around in 86 championship shirts. If I was a Celtics fan, Knicks fan, I'll rock a 1973 championship shirt, pay $15, $20, not even think twice about it. Okay. So, these teams with the way that it was structured before, the luxury tax, okay, but you're competing for championships, okay? So I just I didn't think it was an issue. All right. So that's my thoughts on that. Don't like the second apron. Want the Celtics to come back as constituted. Think it's a real disservice to the game of basketball. I'm taking it there. It's a disservice to the game of basketball if the Celtics team that was built the right way, it has to disband and then not be dynastic because of this new calculation that I just didn't think. Like, where was the red alert that we, who was right? It's not the Golden State Warriors' fault in that dynastic team, which was already, with the old system, that other teams just wanted to have bad ownership. You can't, like these organizations, even with the second apron, a bad organization is going to be a bad organization irregardless until they get new leadership. So shout out to Kevin Garnett, young Kevin Garnett, who was certainly ready at a mold in South Carolina. Some of my friends from college knew him, from the same town in South Carolina. And down with this second apron nonsense. Okay, O.K.C, leaving no doubt, cruising away from Minnesota. Listen, Timberwolves, you fool me once, shame on you. Thought they were the better team last year against the Mavericks, honestly. Thought it was threes versus twos. The Mavericks just having two guys that could just rain it down. Whereas, Minnesota, is more inside, and just ski. Like the Minnesota did not, right? As much as Luka and Kyrie were just raining down threes, like why didn't Anthony Edwards make Luka and Kyrie guard and just, wear them down like you do in football, which we're going to get to, just wear them down with his overall physicality. Like make Luka guard Anthony Edwards and just Luka and Anthony Edwards just make, just put him on skates, and then just bully him, like back him down. And Luka's he's a strong, but still, over time his endurance he will wear down clearly before Anthony Edwards will wear down. Same thing for Kyrie. Make those, threes and twos. That's what okay, teams hitting all these. I just don't understand. A team hits a couple threes and the other team decides to change their style and start shooting threes, like, even though they're not a 3-point shooting team, and then it becomes snowball effect. Rather than using your skills, which is your physicality, and just making it harder on them. Like forcing those 3-point shooters to defend somebody. And send you to the free throw line. And then while you're at it, just like close out and force them off the 3-point line. It might lead to some straight line drives, okay, but like play, like rotate. So Minnesota, you get smacked here. Started as 9 now, and now it's a doggone 20 piece. So you lose in the Western Conference Finals one year against a team you're equally matched with. You lose in the Western Conference another year and teams you're equally matched with. At a certain point, you just become a loser. Okay, I don't know. Okay, folks. What's going on here? We're good. We got a couple things. We got a couple tabs. Too many open. All right, let's go to the I don't know what the heck is going on in the NFL. I don't freaking know what's going on. Okay. All right. So we haven't had a vote. Let me get my sources straight here. Thank you. Goodness gracious. No, no, I don't need a video. I just want a picture. I'm trying to step my doggone production game up over here. Can I just get an image? As SandCity Sports moves and grooves into the evening. It's a beautiful thing. Tuesday night passion project, making hay while the sun shines. Let's go. Dare I say, let's freaking go. Today was also the first day of the men's league that I'm a part of. Your boy's team wasn't playing, and that's a fortunate thing because your boy hasn't hit the gym like he needs to. But excited to see how everybody else was doing. Got to get myself prepared for that. Team opens up next week. Then, fortunately, we have a bye week. Then we play again. Then, fortunately, we have another bye week. So I need all these bye weeks because I've been procrastinating, um, which is no pride in that. I actually saw a really good take from Principal Lamb, who I follow on social media, who does a really good job, saying basically, and even though it probably take me closer to 10 minutes to run a mile now, it's only 10 minutes. So there's no excuse for why my cardio, I haven't been getting the cardio like I need to. And I know we're all tired mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, the whole 9 yards. Tired, people you need that rest. You need the rest. I get it. We need the rest. Okay, whether it's a part of your faith tradition or just self-care, we need rest. But that being said, shout out to Principal Lamb, who does a lot of good stuff. I might, if I can find it, we'll get this up. He's like, he runs a mile a day, and you just look at him and he's like, this dude's in good shape. And you see your boy, I'm trying to hold on, but you know not in the shape that I was before. And he's like, man, it takes me, it takes him, it takes like 6 7. Now, obviously, you got to put your gear on. You got to stretch. You get older. You can't just go out and run. You can't just get out there and bust a move, and then you're gonna get injured. But he put it in a real perspective. Like, this is really, if I organize, it's like this is only a half an hour of my day, and the benefits. O.K.C smacking him up with a 20 piece. The benefits are just unbelievable. So your boy's got to get down. Now it's by force. It's not by choice. Just to be fashionable. Now it's on some force stuff because I got to get back on the court next week. And I ain't putting all the work in to get out there. And my mind is still early 2000s, and your boy still got the the you know what I mean? I still got my you got your cross and you got your deep cross. We're gonna get that for you on the screen now that I mentioned it. We're talking tush push now. We in Philly, so we're gonna get the AI MJ cross on the screen for you in a minute. It's not since it's been referenced. We're gonna get that for you on the screen. But before I can even think about doing that, not rolling an ankle, I gotta get some physical fitness going on. Okay. See how folks are doing out there. I appreciate everybody in this situation. One reaction. Appreciate the reaction on the Facebook. Much appreciation. IGA. Appreciate all Cape rocking. I appreciate that. Summer basketball is coming up. Our coaches and the folks on Twitter that's rocking with me. Much love and appreciation. Again, jump in the comments. You know what I mean? I see any commentary. Okay. We doing it right now. But yes, I jumped the gun on this. I was upset as I heard it on the drive back from work. That they, there's no ruling yet on the tush push and the Packer. See that? I mean, this is wild, folks. The Packers are the team that wants to get rid of the tush push, playing in Lambeau Field. Obviously, the first championships in the NFL history under legendary coach Vince Lombardi, who was known for what? 3 yards and a cloud of dust. This is the team that wants to get rid of the Tush Push. What are we doing? The Packers we ought to be ashamed. The Packers want to get rid of the Tush Push. 3 yards and a cloud of dust. Vince Lombardi, Lambeau Field, freezing temperatures. Folks out there not even wearing gloves. I catch a cold just looking at that footage. I need to wear layers. It can be the middle of summer. I see those Packers out there in that freezing tundra, no freaking gloves out there, just out, men, Vikings, just on the line, battering each other. And this is the team that wants to get rid of the Tush Push? Stop. It's outlandish. Wholly preposterous. Like the Tush, like this is football. Yes, I know we're living, we want to make football safe, but it's different because it's not like, what I mean? You're going to get contact on the line anyway. We're not talking about guys having contact, i.e. the kickoff, and i.e. these blindside hits, which I despise. Absolutely, we're talking about things, that evoke a hatred. I hate blindside hits. Okay? But like where people are running at high rates of speed and catapulting into each other, is when you have concussions and then, one after the other. Obviously on the line, but the Tush Push is the line. You're going to have contact. That's just the nature of football on every play. And then the guys on top of it, it's just a shoving match. It's a tug of war. It's a beautiful. It's football, mano y mano. You have an issue with the Tush Push, stack the freaking box, invest in a solid line and some backers, and stop it. Bring your safeties down, your defense. You just stop it's football, and everybody can't do it. You know what I mean? Just because the Eagles got a little flavor and can do it like they do in Philly now, it's just ridiculous. And I'm thinking about it, the fact that Green Bay of anybody, like I would think it would be a finesse team. Like name me a finesse team that just wants to throw the ball around 60 times and like a warm weather. Like if Mike McDaniels was bringing this beef, even though he's a dude walking around with the icy, with the gold watch, handling his business, like a finesse, spread them out, old school LA Rams. I would think it would be that team that would be crying me a river. But the Packers, this is just truth stranger than fiction. Folks in Green Bay, shareholders, stand up on this one. Talk to well, frankly, it's some of the shareholders who might be responsible because the Packers are owned by the people. But y'all got to get your mind right. Whoever, I don't know if it's whoever it is in that organization, get your mind right. Team steeped in history and tradition, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Gonna poke your lip out about a dog on Tush Push. What we doing over here? Okay? It's like, yes, football, the things that they've done, how they changed the kickoff. I didn't, make it more competitive, stole from the USFL or whoever they got, whoever you got it from. We didn't have the kickoff became a non-play just because you kept getting kicked out of bounds. So I get that. The new way that I don't know. My point with this is, the NFL has been making a number of informed, changes to their game that make it better. Okay, you talk about targeting, just making sure that it's consistent between the offense and the defense, because you do have to hit somebody, and not, over penalizing the defense, for, trying to hit the quarterback in the designated area, then the quarterback leans, and so you nick their head, but obviously weren't launching yourself at their head, and then next thing you know, it's a 15-yard penalty. That has to stop. See that more so in college, but even still, like a targeting, like you can tell what targeting is. Launching at somebody's head, with reckless abandon. Okay, defensive player is doing their best to try to hit somebody moving incredibly fast. And what if you miss the person? Give up, 50 yak yards. So that's where the NFL, while making the game safer, okay, the reports today, about flag football is just taking over the universe. NFL players can now play in the flag football Olympics. No problem with it. It's good. You get out there, you move around, strategy helps you in the, for the real game, 7-on-7 stuff. Great. Tush Push needs to be here to stay. Needs to be here to stay. Green Bay, get your mind right. I don't know what your angle is that you're, maybe you have a beef with the Eagles. Okay. People have, it's not like I don't see people lined up picketing to get rid of the Tush. People, it's a cool play. Stop somebody. 4th and inches, stack the box, and move them. It's mano a mano. It's sumo. Move somebody. Dog on it. It's like, have you, like for football, like non-football people, I remember, the show Orange County Bikes. See if I can get this for you. Orange County Bikers, and they visited the Giants. And where I'm going with this is, see if this is a bad search. Did I mean? Yes. Yes. Found the episode to make my point. Keep moving and grooving. Still got a bunch of tabs open. But we're doing good. People jump in with me. First hour flew by. We keeping it. I know it's a Tuesday, not a Friday, but we doing what we got to do for the fans. That's CP's. CP the franchise says that, for the fans, by the fans. American.
Number 9 for my all-time favorite bikes would be the Giants bike. Growing up in New York, a very early age, loving the New York Giants. Not everybody gets to do stuff with their heroes, so to speak.
What's going on, fellas?
How we doing? How we doing?
David Deal.
Chase Blackman. How we
Nice
doing?
to meet you.
How we doing?
I had an opportunity. The Giants had just come off a Super Bowl win against New England. That was probably the greatest Super Bowl ever played, in my opinion. As a fan, it's just the biggest moment.
It's something that I wanted to do for a long time. Huge fan. We want to really do justice to.
Okay, so this is the shot. Right, want to talk about Tush Push. Shout out to got the name wrong. This is Orange American Chopper. They're in Orange County, American Chopper. But I always remember this episode, right? Because these are man's men, man's men, burly, swole up, right? But then, right, and shout out to American, and the I have not zero, but very limited vocational skills. These guys, can put things together, take them apart, all the, just a lot of respect for it, so on and forth. But, just the distinction in size between, just like big, strong dudes that in your daily day, that what the heck's wrong with this guy? Big, strong folk that in your day-to-day life, and then like NFL linemen, right? Like there's the Hercules, like amongst the normal folk, and then there's the Hercules amongst the gladiatorial folk, right? And it's just night and day different. Okay. And we'll finish this clip, But my point with the tush push is just get a better line and stop complaining. Right? This is football. Right? These giants going toe to toe, moving each other. Right? You don't have a line, you don't have a chance. Stop complaining and develop your team the right way.
The team by building a bike, that represents the New York Giants.
Really what I want to do with the bike is kind of use the Giants colors.
Boy, that's a nice red, huh?
It is kind of nice, yeah.
Some of the stuff that screams football and just kind of nail it, just kind of nail the theme. Right out of the gate, I thought it'd be great to have a football helmet gas tank. That was probably one of my favorite features. I actually did a floating NY in the middle of the wheel, which was cool because we had done a lot of spinners. But the NY, when you drove down the road, because it floated, it just stayed in position. It didn't actually spin, which was really cool as well. We did this goalpost struts,
Awesome.
Football leather seat, football headlight, and then the NY in the front wheel. And, it was just great to pay tribute to these guys. We unveiled it at our 10-year anniversary at the shop, and it was just a really cool unveil. We love the bike, but really what made it all that much more special is having all these all-stars from the Giants. That was just a great honor. And again, how often is a fan given the opportunity to kind of give something back to their team?
Chopper, Monday at 9 on Tush.
American Chopper, shout out. New York roots. Okay, so it's full circle there for me on the tush push. I mean, just get a line and stop complaining. I don't even know if they just floated this issue just to make people like me, non-football gladiators, aggravated. Never mind, that has to do with the Eagles. Yes, born in the great state of New Jersey, have family in Philly. All right, but it's preposterous. All right, enough said. Again, we'll go through. Hope everybody's doing. I know a little bit late, you know what I mean, but it is what it is. This is the time that we have to make it happen, so we're gonna make it happen. Okay. Got to touch on the Caitlin Clark situation. Be remiss. So let's get this. Okay. So let's. All right, so let's break this down for the DJ Crown. Share our screen. We're moving and grooving. On the Tuesday check-in. Appreciate folks that's rocking. Understand if you got to get your beauty rest. It is what it is. But let's take a look, see what, how to...
Clark racing ahead, zips it to Bonner, spinning. Wanted a whistle, didn't get it. Rebecca Allen, too strong on a 3. And look out, Caitlin Clark pushes Angel Reese, and Angel Reese gets right up into Caitlin Clark. Afterwards has something to say as Clark walks away. We know there are always increased eyeballs, energy, and attention around the matchups between Reese and Clark, and Angel Reese is still going after Caitlin Clark in the aftermath.
Everyone in the arena had to know this foul was coming. As soon as you saw Angel Reese wide open, you knew that Caitlin Clark was going to come in and take that foul.
Well, tension's high.
Okay. All right, so, and yeah, we got the referees there. I referee. So we're gonna watch this again. No, first of all, I'm just gonna tell you what I think. And then we'll watch it again. Okay. So that was like a good. How do I mean good? That was to me maybe a flagrant one. Obviously there's history between these two players, but my point with that is like she had like I'm going to foul you so you don't get a layup, and then like okay, sometimes like you foul someone and like you just hold them, right? Like yeah, I'm just gonna hold you, okay, good. But she like fouled her and then Angel kind of fell and then she just so there's no love lost there. But the contact on that foul was not excessive, right? And it didn't, she didn't go through Angel Reese, like hit her and then just keep moving through, which you can see sometimes, or, as they're jumping, bump them off their balance so they fall awkwardly. We didn't have any of that, or bridge them, go under them so they land, roll an ankle. Didn't have any of that, fortunately. It was I don't even know if it was a hard foul, because he just came like, instead of like you're going for the ball, whichever, you going for the ball, or you just hit their arm so you can't move, I'm fouling you. Hold the arm, and then you're going up, arm coming down, so you and you tumble over. Now on the, after the, and this happens in the playoffs, frankly, these guys have no, where you just foul and like you don't help somebody up or you don't hold somebody up. You can help somebody up or you can hold somebody up. Steven Adams has done this in the past, specifically with Mason Plumlee, where Plumlee like jumped and Adams and then Plumlee like jumped over him and was going to fall awkwardly, and Steven Adams like held him so he didn't fall awkwardly, showing great sportsmanship. So there wasn't any sportsmanship on this foul. Okay, but there also wasn't, a ferocity to the contact to raise my attention. Okay, so maybe it's not the best way of saying. Now, how it played out, Caitlin Clark just walking away rather than like those two just having a. It's funny, but it's not funny. That's fine. You don't, and I guess players can do that. You can, foul somebody and then walk away. My point with it is I didn't have a problem with the foul A and her walking away B because it was a foul that was at best, at the most severity, a flagrant 1. That was not a flagrant 2 ejection foul. That could have been, had these two players not had history, and a common foul. Like if that's the playoffs, that's not a flagrant foul. That's just a common foul. You're trying to score. You have an advantage. I'm stopping you from scoring. And we'll go back and watch it. Like Caitlin, like there's not, and Angel Reese is bigger than Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is no small person. She's 6 foot, strong. But I don't have Caitlin Clark like extending and pushing her down. I have her fouling and then just like not helping her up. Let's watch it again.
Clark racing ahead, zips it to Bonner, spinning.
Good
Wanted a whistle, didn't get it.
Saw verticality there. Okay.
Rebecca Allen, too strong on a 3. Right. And look out, Caitlin Clark pushes Angel Reese, and Angel Reese gets right up into Caitlin Clark.
Okay, so before this, Angel gives a bump on the rebound action, which again, was a good basketball play. A little bump. Could you have called a foul there? Yes. Right. See the rebound action. Angel's getting ready to dislodge the rebounder. Right. Can't really see her. has the lead, right leg in, and then he's gonna bump her forward. Could have had a loose ball foul there, but I have no problem with there not being a loose ball foul there. He's the best women's basketball players on the planet. There's going to be some contact. This is for, the big girls. Right? NBA is for big boys. Okay? So Caitlin Clark appears to be responding to this rebound action bump, which, again, in and of itself was within the confines of just physical basketball.
Allen, too strong.
Okay, so, all right, so she extends, right? So that's a foul. If Angel does not extend, we can be good with it. But she's gonna fully, right? See her, you can see me, right? See myself, right? You can keep your arms here and and we're good. Like by the letter, yes, it's a foul, but NBA, WNBA, this is the same thing like offensively. You see the offensive player, like we give the offensive player that bump, that get up off me, that off me. Right? That's a part of the natural physicality of the game. Okay, this is not patty cake out here. We're hooping. Offensive player give the defensive player a little bit of shoulder action. You want a little bit of shoulder. I'm still here. What we doing? We're playing basketball, my friend. It's not. I don't need a charge on that. This is basketball. Now, if you come from hit me one and then you just extend, we talk about the extension. Now that's a different play. But if you're in your zone, I'm here like this, or I might just be like leaning on you, or sometimes you say you can have the one, you have the two, but take, what I mean, and you're kind of coming in. This is normal basketball. Listen, we don't need a whole FBI investigation for this. We're hooping out here. Can we hoop, please? Okay, but we're going to see Angel extend. She pushes. Okay. Now that's a foul. We could have stepped in there. Caitlin Clark sees it, not called. We know Caitlin Clark, and it goes back and forth with the ref. She wants the calls, okay. And it wasn't called, so she's going to be the person to turn up on that. So the missed call, and then so she fouls Angel Reese with similar contact. Like Angel Reese pushes the rebound on a rebound, but she doesn't, she's not kneeing her in there, like it's not a dirty play. If she's here, and putting her knee in the person's kneecap to kind of, take their leg off of its placement, that's dirty. That's unnecessary. Okay, she gives a bump, and then she, with a little extension, foul, not called. And so Caitlin Clark makes really the same play. Like, slaps down 12-6 and then doesn't really help her up. These are two symmetrical plays, both within the confines of just good rivalry basketball. Right? We'll talk about the culture war in a second.
Rebecca Allen,
all right.
Too strong on a three.
Push. Foul.
And look out, Caitlin Clark pushes Angel Reese. Angel Reese gets right up into Caitlin Clark. Afterwards has something to say as Clark walks away. There are
and now the culture war can start again.
Increased eyeballs, energy, and attention around the match.
Angel wants to talk. Okay, good. Okay, see here.
In the aftermath.
Everyone in the arena.
Right, Angel's off her balance. Clark does not hold her up.
Had to know this foul.
But, I mean, she doesn't even really, her arm doesn't even come down to, right? Neither one of them likes each other too much. So, it's almost like a dub. You don't like each other. Who knows how you feel each other off the court? You're both making millions of dollars. So your rivalry, just like the WWE, whether it's real or imagined, it's, you're living a good life. So it's all in the game. It's all a part, we're good. We're good between you two and society. Like we're on a good, solid ground here. This is competitive, spirited, You want to talk about Georgetown, Syracuse, right? This is just good old-fashioned basketball that we're talking about. And neither one of these plays, Angel shoving off on, the center, who steps in to shut this whole thing down because she was just shoved. Okay, so she gets between Angel. Angel, all right, you don't shove me. I'm, obviously we're center. She's a guard. So leave my guard alone. The center who was pushed to start, like she's not animated. Angel and Caitlin, they have their thing going back and forth. So there's going to be some, they don't like each other too much. Great. On both sides. Then neither one of them is wrong. You don't have to love each other. All right, but let's, from like the actual basketball part of it, let's clarify. Let's get that straight. Okay? So we had a push off that wasn't called, that could have been called because she extended. She didn't just bump, she extended, right? When we see this here to there, now we're talking about fouls. Okay, you keep it here, right? Offensive player like this, defensive player holding your ground, both people locked in. Even if you give a little bump, like a lot of times when the player jumps, you bump them because now they don't have their center of gravity. So when you bump them, that pushes them forward, and now you can get the rebound. That's essentially what Angel did, but she didn't just bump, subtly. She extended full. Okay, foul wasn't called. All right, now Angel gets the rebound, clear advantage. All right, you fouled somebody, it wasn't called. Now you have a clear advantage. So now if I'm Caitlin Clark, I'm not just going to give you a layup. I'm going to foul you. Similar, Angel extended here. Caitlin went, we call that 12-6. Come up here 12 all the way down to 6. When you do that, you're trying to be Dikembe, man does not fly in the land of Mutombo. You're trying to be Dikembe, you better hit all ball. Because if you don't hit all ball, it's almost positive going to be a whistle. Because you went from 12-6 and you came into the off. I mean, if you went 12-6 and like swipe and you didn't hit anything, a skilled official is going to see that you made no contact. Okay, but if you can't, like a lot, if the offensive player was moving and even though you didn't make contact, but you came through the space that they were coming into, you're liable for a foul. 12-6. You came out of your verticality, and this whole sequence, we'll go back, started with a great verticality play. All right, we'll come back and watch that. But specific to the actual what actually happened, and then we'll talk about the culture war. It's just good old-fashioned basketball. It's a beautiful thing. Okay? There are two teams, Indy, the Shy, just getting after it. Midwest, beautiful. Hooping. And yeah. The people from Indy, the Hoosiers, and the people from the Shy, Chicago Public. Two proud, strong, tremendous traditions. And when they get together, we're going to be some furniture moving around. But it's all good. And the Hoosiers might get one, Chi-Town might get another. It's all good. It's beautiful basketball at a high level. So that's what actually happened. Let's just, beautiful basketball at a high level is what was taking place. Okay? And we'll see here.
Clark racing ahead, zips it to
the defender, straight up, right? Offensive player is going to lean into defensive player's space. Defensive player is going to keep their hands high, straight up.
Honor spinning. Wanted a whistle, didn't get it.
She wants a whistle. She's upset. Nothing. She came into the defensive player's space. Defensive player has a right to that space on the floor. She got there first and legally. Her hands are straight up to the ceiling. She's not liable for any. The offensive player, if anything, would be liable for the contact because if my hands are straight up and I'm standing still and you make contact and the contact is made, then you came into my space. Okay, but we don't need a whistle on that. Very good officiating. Okay, we don't need a charge on, no, that's just basketball. Okay? She's looking back, angry. She's like, there's contact. I know there's contact, which you created. No call. Let's keep it moving. Okay? So a good play on one end. We had a foul on a push. We had a foul on a hack down. Okay, and then we have now this culture war that we can't help ourselves with. Now we got the culture war. Okay, so we're going to need different imagery for the culture war. Let's get some imagery here. All right. So, look, not going in at every single take and every single angle that this could be manipulated to divide and conquer, right? To get like-minded people, like-minded people being those of us that love and appreciate sports, those of us that love and appreciate great athletes, regardless of their hue, their background, right? This meritocracy that we have within sports, right? Meaning, right? Thank you, people, but no thank you, right? So this is where we start with what we believe in, which is a meritocracy. Rich, poor, black, white, yellow, green, orange, you can excel in sport. Now, again, you have to be, obviously basketball, you have to be tall, generally speaking. But within, right, that society of taller people, if you're the best, then you're the best. And we will cheer for you. All right. So that's the foundation of all of this. Okay. The conversations, right, around cultural background, around womanhood, all that stuff, and around who gets attention, who doesn't. Fine. These are conversations. This is how people feel. It goes into the attention economy. We consume it, and it has an impact. Okay. Bottom line for me, like that's where this whole thing started. Iowa and LSU. That's where this whole thing, and it's getting to be played out. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are different people. They're different players, and they're both wonderful. That's really the bottom line. And there's no, it's the same thing. Larry and Magic, same thing. They're different. Larry, rural Indiana. Magic, also, a little bit more. Lansing is a little bit more urban, but still not a major city. One goes to Boston, the other goes to LA. There's all those divergent components that we can focus on and perseverate on. But the bottom line is, it's just you have two savants, two, prodigy type players that elevate the game. And we're talking about Larry and Magic. And that should be the same thing with Caitlin and Angel. The other convenient culture war narratives, to me, are just not very substantive because they do not directly relate to the foundation upon which the whole thing is built, which is namely, you have two gifted athletes whose careers are ascending, right? This is not a Brown v. Board type of a circumstance, whereas, Caitlin Clark's identity is tied to her being somehow privileged, and Angel Reese's identity is tied to her having not had privileges, for a majority of her, life, right? This is not like Kentucky versus like West, like, when Kentucky lost to the all-black team. It escapes my mind. Like, that's not how these two players rose to prominence. Obviously, they had, their disagreement in the national championship game. But that's not who they've been for us to know them. We know who Caitlin Clark is because she torched South Carolina in the game they weren't supposed to win. And that launched her star. And then she continued to get better, and people continue to follow her. and the rest is history. I keep saying this. If South Carolina wins that game, which they were supposed to win, would we have the Caitlin Clark phenomenon? Because she was good when she started at Iowa, but she was, took a backseat to Paige Beckers. Caitlin Clark's always been a hooper, but she played, Paige Becker was the brightest star. Paige got hurt. Caitlin shined, then frankly leveled up because they weren't supposed to beat that South Carolina team, and then leveled up again. Iowa was a problem the next year, and then the phenomenon, and then became like a phenomenon. But she had been good before. People caught, and then the whole why does she get the attention, the other people don't? That's fine. But she doesn't beat South Carolina, and then she doesn't become, to get to the national championship game and then lose, and then people feel some type of way, and then people feel they have to rush to defend her, and now we have like the narrative, what it's become. But again, in reality, she's always been a hooper. You just didn't know she was a hooper her freshman year because we're focused on the Blue Bloods, i.e. UConn. She pulls some lightning out of a bottle, as I've said, with the one win. People gain attention, and then, the unnecessary defense of the masses for her, and then she just got better. She was better at Iowa her junior year. Now, that wasn't an illegal screen in the UConn game. I don't care what anybody says. Or whatever that trash call was that took away a possession from UConn in the game that they could have won with multiple players injured. But Caitlin Clark moves on, goes to the WNBA, and then balls in the WNBA under the pressure in the spotlight. So that's what we need to be talking about in terms of Caitlin Clark, in terms of Angel Reese, in terms of this whole kit and caboodle. The other narratives, not to be, nobody, you can't be naive. So those are going to be just continual, frankly. But, they'll sell, they'll help the algorithm. People will, but it's not the story. Is the point. It's not the story at all, not even close. Story is 2 outstanding, ascending ball players. That's the story. Okay, folks. And I told you we got some stuff to get to in terms of the slice of life. So let's get to that. We're going to do 3. Start with Ice Cube. I'm going to find it. In terms of the grind. In the process, we got some Portnoy there. Okay, having problems finding the Ice Cube take. It's there. Got to get a little bit more organized. Going to start with the grind. Start with the grind. what it takes.
Just didn't want to hate my job when I woke up.
Okay.
Like I knew I wanted to try my own thing. But at Barstool, if I was making 60 grand a year working for myself, I would have been happy.
Did you ever think that this possibly couldn't work?
I got a job about 6 years in. I took a sales job, drove, worked there. At lunch, I'm like, I can't do Barstool and give it a chance and do this. So one day, lunch, drove home, never went back. But I mean, we didn't make money for a decade.
Right. Really?
Yeah.
So how did you get by?
Grinding. Like I moved in with my in-laws.
Okay.
We had no rent. Like, and just it was paycheck to paycheck trying to survive. But it was literally like nothing.
At the time, did your wife like, Dave?
She made me get the job. She made me get the job. To her credit, she stood by me. And it always felt in my gut, this thing's like there's something here.
Yeah.
But to turn the corner and actually do it took a long time.
Did you create fake ads to get rival companies?
Like I was early. Like Morton Steakhouse, I put in a rival, like Fleming's, Morton's, like
Chris.
Yeah, and the actual place would call me like it was Fleming's. There's a steakhouse in Boston. They'd be like, we didn't advertise in your paper. Why are you in there? It's like, oh, my sales guy quit. I don't know what happened. And then we take it out. But the thought was, hey, if Morton sees Fleming's, then Morton's want to get in there.
Right.
So yeah, we did that. I would do anything. I would do anything to try to get somebody in the paper.
But you also created fake emails with extra people like, hey, we got a big ass staff.
Correct. So do you want someone to advertise and know that I'm the head writer, I'm the founder, I'm the sales guy, I'm the marketing guy? So I had like 10 different aliases. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man.
And we had no outside money till 2016. We started 2004.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a very long time not to make a whole lot of money. A lot of people probably after 12 years going to give it up there.
Yeah. I mean, we started around by 2016. We were doing pretty well, but yeah, I had a normal job. Again, I would rather work for myself, not make as much, and then hate waking up and hate what I do.
So you didn't really turn a profit. You started in 2004, so you kind of turned a profit in
2010, maybe 11, around there.
So you started making good money. It's not no retirement money.
No, good enough money. We did a concert tour in 2010.
Okay.
And then I'm probably making 7 figures by 2012, 2013. Okay. I just didn't want to hate my job when I woke up.
Okay.
Like I knew I wanted to try my own thing. But at Barstool, if I was making 60 grand a year working for myself, I would have been happy.
Did you?
So, no lies detected. Right? You see the success and everything. But we don't always focus on the grind. So we're going to stay with that theme, go over. I saw this, again, big weekend last weekend, first live period in terms of youth basketball.
This is what development looks like in youth sports, honestly.
Yep.
Your parent finds the right environment for you to be in, and they find the right coach to come nourish that environment. And year over year, you just keep getting better.
Yep.
Just keep getting better. But nobody sees it. Nobody knows it. Nobody hears it. It just has to matter to you. You can't worry about what the world on the outside is doing. Don't worry about the rings. Don't worry about the trophies. Don't worry about the banners, because that is not a true depiction of what real development looks like. And then when your time comes, you'll tend to be able to show the world exactly who you are and who you can be, what you've been working on. And it happens at the time when you're supposed to get the right exposure. But if it happens prematurely, you'll just end up getting exposed for your lack of development. This is what development looks like in youth sports, honestly. Your parent finds the right environment for you to be in, and they find the right coach to come nourish that environment. And year over year, you just keep getting better. Just keep getting better.
Oh, watch this again.
But nobody sees it. Nobody knows it. Nobody hears it. It just has to matter to you. You can't worry about what the world on the outside is doing. Don't worry about the rings. Don't worry about the trophies. Don't worry about the banners, because that is not a true depiction of what real development looks like. And then when your time comes, you'll tend to be able to show the world exactly who you are and who you can be, what you've been working on. And it happens at the time when you're supposed to get the right exposure. But if it happens prematurely, you'll just end up getting exposed for your lack of development.
There it is.
This is what development looks like in youth sports.
We don't need to say it third time. So we're going to conclude, talked a little bit, and we'll be talking more. SandCity rolls on. Got to be doing the thing. You got to be doing it. Again, this second apron, what are we doing? What are we doing with this second apron? Makes no sense to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different champions in the 2020s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different champions. 1, 2, 3. I'm a history guy, so I got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the 2010s, like if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? Kobe got that one in the back-to-back we talked about. Dallas stole one from Miami. Miami got the 2. Really, Ray Allen responsible for this one. Spurs came back with a vengeance. Now the rise of the Warriors. KD goes down. Toronto steals one. Pandemic happens. Right? What's the need for the second apron? Okay, I don't see it. I didn't think I didn't think that what we had needed to be fixed. And the much respect that I have for Adam Silver coming in after the late great David Stern, I got to say what I got to say. Period. You know, right? Boston Celtics team needs to be kept together. Under no circumstances, under none, should they be separated. They have to take less money. If we have to, there's no reason that any of these teams, had to be penalized to a point where they were forced to break up. Luxury tax is one thing, but, the luxury tax times 2 or 3, come on, stop. Stop. Okay, folks. Appreciate on a Tuesday, terrific Tuesday, folks. Coming in to holler to check in with your boy. It means the world. Like, comment, subscribe. Jump in, let me know. You don't like this, you don't like. I want to hear it all. I'm here for the conversation. Okay? It is what it is. Thank you so much. We going Liz Mob. You know what I'm saying? Okay, folks. Thank you for turning in to SandCity Sports. I'm your host, Kid, artist from those Andre. And we doing it.